About 18 months ago, I started this YouTube channel, and I said I wanted to form a tribe, a group of people that work together to give us an advantage in investing in the stock market. And I brought my skills as a retired financial advisor to act as the chief of that tribe. And it's been a building process. To give you an insight of it, we wrote a book, that is, Colin, George, and I, called The Power of the Tribe. And what I'm going to show you here in this video is the power of the tribe. We had Gabe, who is an early member of our Discord, share with me back on June the 29th some information he had about a small stock that was involved in a lawsuit with Google. You may have seen some videos I've done on it. And we discussed it, and I decided to buy into it at $3.02. I believe it was on the 29th. I'm now up 150% on it. So the question in our Patreon discussion that we had on July the 16th was, where's the top? Gabe wasn't there. So I invited Gabe today on Sunday to meet with me, and he and I have a conversation as to what his knowledge is, and could he give the tribe some information as to where the top is and where this thing could go. So what I've done then is I did the video. I uploaded it onto my YouTube channel. I unlisted it, and then I shared it with the tribe so that they would hear what Gabe had said and his analysis of where this is going to end up, so that they would have an advantage, because that's the power of the tribe, to get an advantage. Now, there are about 2,000, 3,000 of us. Do I think we're going to move the market? I don't. But I believe that the information that I'm about to share with you, that Gabe shared with me, is going to give you some insight as, number one, how the tribe works and what we may have just stumbled on. It's what Gabe called the pick of a lifetime. So stay with me. I got to tell you, I'm not a financial advisor. This is just entertainment and education, but I'll be right back with you. You need to see this.
Best of Us Investors presents Carrie Griegmeyer.
This is Gabriel. We call him Gabe. Gabe has been a member of our Patreon group from the get-go, and I would be happy to say that Gabe helped us build that Patreon. And he's been a contributor all along. And I guess it was Monday. I think it was June the 28th. You gave me a call and you said, Carrie, this is something you need to know about and I want to look into. And he called me back the next day and basically said, have you looked into it? And I said, I have, and I'm buying. And that was Netlist. And Gabe, let me just kind of throw it to you then. Give me the background of how you became aware of this, and where you found it and how.
Sure, Carrie. So, I've been investing for over a decade, but I've been trading professionally for about 5 years now, and I say that because I created my own LLC and I trade under it, and I've been profitable, et cetera. So that's why I'm a professional, right? Okay. So, in this world, I've met some contacts, and one of my mentors is a gentleman who has he owns his own fund, and he controls hundreds of millions of dollars, right? We were having one of our discussions, and he was telling me about two companies, one of them being Netlist, that a client of his told him about. But because of FINRA regulations, he was not allowed to buy any for the fund for his clients. But he looked into it and he bought some for himself. He said, Gabe, look into this, because he knows how hyper focused I get on things. So he gave to me both companies. He gave me both companies, and I looked at them, and when I found out what I found out about Netlist, I instantly bought, right? And then the more I found out, the more overweight on it I got, and so, Carrie, if anyone understands, because I used to be an advisor, so my total capital to trade with and make things work was 100% of whatever it is, right? So at one point, I was over 40%, almost 40% in just Netlist, right? And it was just being stagnant, but I was just so bullish and just so amazed about the what can possibly happen from this, that it just didn't make sense not to buy, and that's why I called you, and I told all my friends and all my family and everyone. So yeah, it was brought to me, serendipitously, and I looked into it, and here we are.
Okay. Well, I've covered it, but just the short take on it is that for 20 years, they've had a patent which they felt was violated. And over the last 10 years, the patent courts agreed with them. And if I understand it, and you've pointed me in the direction, the decision is not whether they will be compensated, it is how much.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, I like to put a caveat to that. In the courts, absolutely anything is possible, Carrie. Absolutely anything is possible. And I'm going to use this segue. I'm going to make this segue because we're about to get very, very bullish. We're going to unwrap a whole bunch of great information on Netlist, but I want to temper everyone's expectations. So I guess right now would be a good time to do that. There was a patent infringement case between Merck and Gilead. It was they won. It went to trial. Merck won. They got $2.5 billion, and they were seeking treble damages, which means triple damages, right? Because in the case it came out that it was willful infringement. Anyway, Gilead appealed it. 2 years later, long story short, Merck went from winning it and hoping for triple damages to losing the appeal and didn't get a gosh darn thing. So I say that to temper everyone, because in this world of trials and everything, anything can happen. Okay, yeah. Absolutely anything, and that's another reason why I hope a settlement is coming. Because once a settlement's coming, boom, it's a done deal. It's settled, right? Nothing else can happen after that. So I just wanted to bring that out there.
Okay. Beyond so me reading that into that, you're not sure there'll be punitive damages. Of course,
no.
Sure, no, none of us are sure. What is your take on what the damages would be without punitive?
Okay, so like you said, it's not whether or not they're guilty. It's how guilty are they and how much are they going to have to pay. They're definitely guilty on more than 50% of the patents, because, and I say that because there's 78 articles of patent infringement, and only like less than 30, I believe, are like partially validated, which means there's a chance for Google to get what's called absolute intervening rights or equitable intervening rights, and I'll discuss that in a second. But most of them, that's not even able to be argued. It's like, boom, this is it, right? So now what Google is doing with this intervening rights things is they're trying to get absolute intervening rights, which in layman's terms, what I'm trying to convey is they're trying to knock off as many article of patents off the table, so that way the settlement will be smaller. Like it's 78, and then if it's 77, it's, there's less of a settlement that they have to give. That's what they're trying to do. But I am pretty sure that they are going to fail at most of them. I don't want to say 100%, but I think it's a really, really strong case, and I know that because of the facts that I know. So I can't say nothing is 100% in life except for death and taxes, right, Carrie? So I can't sit here and say this is 100% blah blah blah. No, I will go ahead and give the cake of this discussion at the beginning. Everybody wants to know what I think what I think the settlement's going to be, and et cetera, et cetera. So here's the cake, right? Everybody can have their cake, and then we can eat the meal later. So the cake. Here's what I think. The largest settlement in history is $4.5 billion, and that's QCOM and Apple. Okay, QCOM beat Apple in a 2-year litigation. We know because of the discovery hearing that was with Magistrate Spiro not too long ago, which was at the point that this started to skyrocket. It's after that hearing. We know that discovery for Netlist has been agreed upon to be from the beginning, which means 2009, because that is when Google signed the non-disclosure agreement. That is huge news. Literally, there cannot be better news than that. It goes from all the way to the beginning, which is 2009. Discovery means how far back are we going to open the books to know how much Google owes us? The judge says you can open the books from the beginning. Okay, so that's amazing, right? So from 2009 to present, okay, they've been in litigation for over 10 years, so 12 years to be exact, right? So 12 years. And I literally I didn't sleep one night. I was just reading this 48-page document. I think I sent it to you, Carrie, on patent infringement law. And yeah, on patent infringement law. And I wanted to find out the metrics. I've also paid a lawyer. I paid him out of my own money, but luckily it's going to be tax deductible. I paid him so he can give me, he can try to make it simpler for me to digest because I'm not a lawyer. So legal speak sometimes hard for me to understand. So anyway, I said all that to say that from what I know with the metrics, from what I know the discovery is and everything else that I know, plus I know all the other things that Netlist is able to ask for, my very, very conservative is no less than $5 billion, Carrie. So now, $5 billion, we know that the float is 221 million shares. Each $1 billion, literally in a linear accounting, counts for $4.51 added to share price. I mean, that's just basic math. And in the stock market is a forward-looking tool. So if they have $1 billion and it's worth $4.51, it's actually going to be probably worth like 6 or 7 or 8 or what have you, depending on the market. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, $5 billion is literally, I don't see the CEO Hong taking less than that. I really don't. My bullish estimates are over $8 billion. And now with that said, this can be done in a myriad of ways. This can be done one lump sum plus licensing agreements in perpetuity, because don't forget that, Carrie, these licensing agreements in perpetuity, which means in the future, have to happen because Google is not going to get rid of the technology, right? Okay, so it can happen lump sum. It can happen 1 billion over the next 10 years, every year, or whatever. There's a myriad of ways it can happen, but it's going to happen. At least I think it will, right? So when the settlement is released, my very, very conservative price target is $25 based on what I think is going to happen.
You're there.
Yeah.
And just so that I understand entirely, you're saying you think 5 billion. You're saying there's 221 million shares.
Yeah.
And then where did you derive the $4.51 per share? Was that?
Oh,
okay.
Well, if you divide 1 billion by 221 million,
Okay.
You'll get $4.51.
So at 5 billion, that 451 would turn into somewhere around $25.
A little bit less, correct? 23 bucks, something like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that gives a good mathematical look at how you might derive. So if it's just $1 million now, and where do we start that from? At 25 cents?
Where do we start what from?
If let's say the award is $1 billion.
Okay, $1 billion.
$4.51
easy
value to the shares.
Yeah, correct.
But so probably we got to go back to where it was when before this became public news.
No, not
No?
necessarily, because they just got so SK Hynix was the first domino to fall in the row, right? If you look into the deal, so they got $40 million. There's a lot of things to unpack here, so I'm going to try to do it succinctly. SK Hynix they got $40 million plus a whole bunch of rights to patents that they have, plus rights to buy. It's rights to buy an X amount of chips. I can't remember the deal exactly. I apologize.
I do remember.
I've hyper focused on the Google thing, but I am aware of. So
we're good. So you're basically saying that some of this price appreciation that we've already gained is not even attributable to the Google situation. It is attributable to some of the settlements they've already received.
No, I believe that everything that we've gained since the hearing that allowed the discovery is one of two things. It's people that know how much this compiles to be worth, so they're trying to pile in as early as possible, and then it's hype based on settlement. And now, but this I mean, this is not like any kind of animal. There's a lot of things. So if you allow me, there's a couple things I'd like to say that a lot of people don't know. Okay. Please. So I'm gonna start here and go this way. So one of the things I like, when I'm doing my research, whether it's fundamental research or technical analysis, there's things, especially in fundamental research, that you have to learn how to read between the lines. Like, if this person is doing that and that person is doing this, it obviously means something. Okay, something that a lot of people don't know about Netlist is that they would not have been able to fund this litigation for this many years without help. Okay. They have had help from two entities that I know of. Two entities. One, I can't remember the name of them, but very early on, they knew that Netlist had such a great chance of winning this over Google that they basically said, we will fund this litigation or help fund this litigation for you. And then we're going to get a cut. So that is something that 100% of everything is not going to go to Netlist, just so everyone knows. But that is still very bullish sentiment, right? Someone putting up their money because they have faith in you. Second, which is a little bit more known, is this company called Lincoln Park Capital. Lincoln Park Capital has so in order to stay in business, because they haven't been making much money, Netlist has been having to dilute, right? They've diluted. If you look at the dilution paperwork, they've diluted like on clockwork over and over and over again until where they are now, 221 million shares. And Lincoln Park Capital is a big proponent of that. From my estimates that I was able to find with some help on StockTwits and research, I was able to come to the conclusion that Lincoln Park Capital owns about 38 million shares of Netlist. Now, and this next thing is really great. The shares that Lincoln Park Capital owns. Now, after so many months, they are allowed to sell. So it is possible they don't have so many shares anymore, but I'm sure they have most of it. But the beautiful thing about it is, and that is evident in the shares short float. The beautiful thing about it is that Lincoln Park Capital is not capable of shorting the shares per the deal that they have with Netlist. So they're not hedging against Netlist or shorting it. It's literally they're in a business deal with them because they believe. Okay. Another thing that a lot of people are not understanding about this. Okay. This is an OTC stock. A lot of people have no idea what an OTC stock is. Why? The reason that is so important is because OTC stocks are extremely hard to float, and I'll explain to you why. A retail investor cannot buy OTC stocks on margin, okay? Your broker, well, I'm going to use my broker as an example because there are different brokers. TD Ameritrade TD Ameritrade cannot lend shares of stock that is not bought on margin. So if you can't buy a share on margin, it can't be lent out. It's very simple. I told you there's 221 million shares. The short float is only 2.9 million, Carrie. And I believe a large number of those are the market makers themselves, because if you know about market makers and liquidity, they hold a short position in almost everything that they trade, because that's just the nature of the beast. Okay, so that is very bullish in itself. Here's another very bullish thing, and you as a financial advisor are probably going to understand how big this next thing I'm going to tell you in. And this is what my friend who has the hundreds of millions of dollars in clients, this is what he told me. This is directly from the horse's mouth. He's like, Gabe, because of FINRA regulations, this and that, there's two of them, I can't buy Netlist from my clients. But he says, you know what, Gabe, after going through the books, the SK Hynix money is going to be on the books on this next quarterly report coming in August. That, and plus something else, I'm pretty sure is going to make it now available per FINRA regulations for me to buy into this. So what I'm trying to convey to you is that if that is correct, come quarterly report, these huge funds will now be able to buy. But
it was my understanding, and I'm not an expert on this, that mutual funds and ETFs cannot buy over-the-counter stocks.
Well, this is not for a mutual fund. This is an individual fund. This is an individual fund, but it's
hedge fund.
No, he's not a hedge fund. He's an individual fund, but it's FINRA regulated, and he is able to add it to the portfolio to a certain amount of weight, if it meets certain criteria. And he's telling me that this criteria will most likely be met come next quarterly report. So that's something big that a lot of people aren't tracking. And but still, the great thing about that is the availability to short still stays the same. It still stays very, very difficult to short. So there's that. All right. Another thing that I believe glazes over a lot of people's heads is that this is not just rumor of it or that it might be. This is a seminal patent. And I wrote it down to talk to you today. A seminal patent is an invention so impactful, it creates a shift in the technology space. This has been given that landmark. It is that. So this is huge. And going back to damages and what to expect, Netlist has not been able to grow because of these litigations. They have been held back. So they're not only going to get royalties or possible royalties that they missed out on, they are also going to get damages because it affected their ability to grow. And furthermore, if it was to go to trial, because this is willful infringement on Google's part, it will be able to get treble damages if it went to trial. So there's a lot of big things here that if you put everything together, there is no way, and this is why I called you, there's no way you can't be extremely bullish.
I would agree. What kind of time frame are we looking at?
Great question. So a settlement can happen literally at any time. And there's a lot of misconceptions out there. I've seen it in videos. Some guy said that it'll be like on this August 9th date. And if you look at the docket, that's just one of the dates where they're discussing the intervening rights. A settlement can happen tonight, or a settlement.
I read that there is a trial date of March 2021 of some sort.
Listen, all the dates are scheduled. Correct. You read correctly. There is a trial date, but they have to go through the steps. Right now, they're doing intervening rights. After they get done with intervening rights, they do the next thing. After they do everything and they know all the discovery and all the intervening rights, then they go to trial. And then once trial is done, based on the intervening rights and everything else, they can figure out a good ruling. However, to answer your question, a settlement can be today, or a settlement can be the day before a ruling. You know, a settlement can be at any time.
We do have something of a finish line of sometime in March of 2021. And correct me if I'm wrong.
2022.
Judge openly said you don't want to bring it to trial. And
no,
it is not a jury trial. It is a judgment.
No, you're incorrect in how you said. So, Judge, you're talking about Magistrate Spiro and what he was telling. So, Google, which they haven't yet that I know of, Google had to put in their discovery agreement, which means they talk to Netlist, and Netlist says what they need in order to discover per the judge's orders, and they have to agree. Google had to enter their signed agreement by a certain date, and Magistrate Spiro said, this is the day you have to do it, and if you don't do it, you don't want to know what I will rule. And the reason he said that is because he's saying he's going to just give them broad discovery rights, meaning you can just go through every nook and cranny. So that's what he said. He didn't say anything about trial itself.
Okay. All right. So, anything else you want to add? I got to get it.
Let me think. So I said about the seminal patent, I said, okay, yes, actually there is something I'd want to add. So in your live stream that you gave to your members that I saw, you know, and I like to take this to this time to apologize to everyone in the Discord, because I can come off as very abrasive.
I call you a bulldog.
Yeah. So I can come off as very abrasive, and you know, I am, and I'm gonna go. I have Asperger's, as I told you before, so I get hyper focused, and I don't. Anyway, your people were saying that, oh, I'm looking at, and you too, actually, you guys were saying I'm looking this as, you know, a hype play, and it's a sell the news event kind of a thing. So I might get out before the news. Well, one, no one knows when the news is going to drop. But two, and I want to reiterate this, if the news is Google to pay Netlist $12 billion, are you going to sell at a $12 share price? I mean, the information I just gave you was $4.51 per $1 billion. You are literally a very silly person to do that.
Well, and understand, we didn't have that analogy until just now. So no, I again, with that information, again, I think that this is something that I think is very strange about people who analyze investors and whatever. We gather information. What I said then, I didn't have this information.
Right. I hear you.
Okay. All right.
So furthermore, I like to say something, because, Carrie, I sold everything in my Roth IRA. Everything. I had Tesla. I had Palantir. I've been a long time holder of Tesla. I sold everything when it was $2.12 in my Roth IRA, my personal Roth IRA, okay. and I put it all into Netlist, all of it. And I'm up a lot of money because of it. I'm very happy for what I did. But I'm saying all that to tell you this. I am not selling anything in there. Nothing, not a share. Listen, if I'm wrong, then I'm screwed. If I'm wrong, then I'm screwed. And it is what it is. It's a gamble I'm willing to take. But if I'm right, Carrie,
oh, yeah.
and if I'm right, and this is something I want to convey to everyone who's going to watch this video, if I'm right, Netlist is going to become the QCOM of the memory world. QCOM gets a piece of every single cellular kind of networking piece of the pie from everyone. After they beat Apple, QCOM gets royalties from every direction because of that win. If Netlist gets this win, and then the dominoes fall, and then they beat Enphi, and then they beat Micron, and then they beat Samsung, and so on and so forth, they will be validated. Their patent, which is the most technological patent on the market today, will be validated as the standard bearer in the space. Wow. When they are the standard bearer in the space, they're going to grow exponentially. Everyone is going to want to work with them. Everyone is going to want their stuff. Everyone is going to give them royalties. Look at QCOM, which was a behemoth at the time of going into a litigation with Apple compared to what Netlist is today. QCOM grew from $20 a share to winning it to being like over $50 a share overnight to now they're over $120 a share, I believe. QCOM has grown exponentially. What I'm saying, and this is a big thing for me to say, Netlist, the potential for Netlist is even bigger so than QCOM because of the size of Netlist right now.
Yeah.
It's all about getting in on the ground floor.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think what you just did was convince me I need to double down on this, even at $7 and whatever it is today.
So I bought some more. At the close on Friday at $7.60.
Okay.
It dipped a little bit, and I had a limit order in, and I pulled the trigger. Listen, the fluctuate. The market's going to go up. It's going to go down. There's one more thing I'd like to say. Okay, as a trader, and everyone knows because I tell them over and over again, at least in the options channel, RSI is very important. Relative Strength Index. You look at the daily RSI. You look at the weekly. If you're a day trader, you look at the 1 minute, the 5 minute, etc. On the daily and the weekly, Netlist is over 90. That's freaking nuts. Okay. 70 is overbought. 70 is overbought, and this thing is above 90. Okay? If you know what you're doing and you're looking at this, you're like, I'm waiting for a dip. But if you've been waiting for a dip, you haven't got one. It just keeps going and going. And the reason is, I firmly believe this is an OTC stock. There are no options on it. The ability to short this is minuscule. Okay. And people who are buying know of the potential that's coming. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. This is, and I said this to all my friends, and I said it to you when I called you. I said it to you. This is the pick of my lifetime. I have never found or believed in anything as much as this. And this was back then. I have a lot more information now.
Yes,
okay?
You do.
So,
and this is extremely valuable. And I just want to share with those of you who are watching this. This is what I set out to build, was a tribe, a group of people who are trying to help each other. Gabe could have kept this to himself. Now, I think, and truly, Gabe, I don't think we as a tribe don't have the ability to move a market. But I think there is enough energy behind it that it is building. What I'm going to do with this is I will edit it, release it to put it on YouTube before the evening is over. I will notify my Patreon members of it and that it is unlisted, and this will not go public until Tuesday. So Gabe, we have to reward the tribe. The tribe is who supports us, who believes in us. And so I want them to have 2 days in front of, if there's a rush at the door, I want them to have the advantage.
This is a different animal that I have never come across in my life. And I'm trying to keep my realism tempered. I really am. And that's why I said what I said at the beginning. Anything can freaking happen. However, if you read between the lines and if you follow the facts, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. I don't think a dip is coming. I really don't. And I think any dip that does come is going to be bought up really freaking quick. And then if the settlement doesn't come before the next quarterly report, which is in August, then that's when big money is getting in. That's when big money is getting in. Okay. Also, I want to address one more thing because it's probably the main thing that makes people bearish about it. There has been insider selling right? Mainly by the name of the CFO. Her name is Gail Sasaki. Okay. She still owns over 440,000 shares. Okay. I want to explain the insider selling that's going on because it's literally nothing to look at or be worried about. So insiders they don't have a choice. They have to, way beforehand, have to put, okay, they have two ways to trigger their stock selling. Two ways. They can say, hey, I want to sell X amount of shares on this date in the future. Mm-hmm. Or I want to sell X amount of shares at this price in the future.
I see.
So Gail, apparently what she did is she set staggered price targets. And this thing went from $2 to $7.50 relatively quickly. So we as investors have seen Gail selling shares pretty quickly in succession, right? But it's not because she thinks we're going to lose or anything like that. It's because when she set up her plan, her insider plan, it was triggered to sell at a place. If you look at Hong, the CEO, who has over 5 million shares, his triggers aren't set at either any time or price target right that we've seen, because he hasn't sold any in the run up. None.
And I would say that all makes sense because there are, as you said, triggers and ways to control insider trading, and so that makes sense. Okay, Gabe, this has been great.
Yeah, it's been great.
I think, and I want to, again, from a personal point of view, thank you for the service you have given the tribe. And this could be, as you said, the pick of a lifetime.
Well, I mean, at $2, it definitely was. Yeah, but let's see what happens. I am extremely bullish for the future. And okay. Terry, I could be wrong.
Of course,
this can come crashing down.
I hope we all go into this knowing there are no guarantees.
No guarantees. No guarantees.
You gather information, and then you make judgments based upon that information.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
so this is still undervalued based on the information that I know.
Okay, that's my take. That's Gabe's take. I hope you enjoyed it. You can see he's very positive on this. He's put a heavy bet into it. I'm going to probably double down on my bet on it. But more importantly, what I want you to see is when you can put a group of people's minds together who have a common goal and a common objective, you gain an advantage. Now, it's at our Patreon. You can find that by going to Best of Us Investors and giving me your name and your email address, and I'll send you a link to the Discord. And in the Discord, you can join the Patreon, and you'll be a part of this. We charge a whopping $10 a month for this kind of information. As I said, I'm already up 150% on this, and I bought it at $3. And according to Gabe, I'm not near the end of it yet. So thanks for listening, and come join us. I think we can help you be successful.